Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's live market update and charts of the day. Fantastic to see you here. Thank you for popping in on this Thursday lunchtime for many of you, morning if you're if you're on the West Coast. Of course, what we'll do is our usual sort of meander around what's happening with the headlines. Lots of stuff going on for markets to digest at the moment, of course, and then we'll have a look at some charts, etc. But of course, we always start off by popping up this little message just so you are aware that this is for education purposes only. Please make sure you do your own due diligence on anything you see here. Make sure you follow trading plans and manage risk on every trading action. That's entry and exit consistent with your own personal trading objectives and financial situation. Thank you to everybody who's here. Just to reiterate that. And let's get into the news, shall we? And there we go. So the headlines today. Well, market's still looking strong on the back of some trade deal talks. I think there was some agreement with South Korea. Continued good earnings. We had Microsoft and Meta after the bell, which both beat expectations, both are significantly higher. We're seeing that reflected in the US futures, um, as after hours trading was responding positively to that. The Fed paused last night as expected. I wouldn't be surprised to see Trump get busy on Truth Social today. And we do have the BOJ in action today. So just watch for that also at various, there'll be the interest rate decision. And then, of course, we'll move into the press conference later today. Um, in terms of expectations related to that, it's always worth just sort of referencing that. The expectation is that um, they won't raise rates, that they'll keep rates static, but it'll be the narrative around the press conference that's going to be sort of interesting. We have had some retail sales numbers out of Japan this morning, which were positive, and industrial production numbers, which are also positive. They've turned back positively. They were negatively on the last read. That supports the concept of a rate rise, but it'd be very surprising to the market if there is one. Also, we had some manufacturing data come out of China, which was short. It was shy of expected. But as I said, just watch out for the BOJ press conference later on. And of course, um, they're very loose on the timings of it all, but just watch today any yen crosses and take um, appropriate action. Uh, the US futures, as I said, are higher on earnings. The Asian markets are mixed. The ASX was underperforming, down around 0.4% when I looked around an hour ago. It looked as though I had a quick peek before we started, and it did look as though there was a slight improvement on that. European futures are also pointing to a cautiously positive open. We'll have a look at charts of all of these in a moment, but we did see the US dollar index continue to bounce to the upside. It is now out of that downwards trend channel, and that's probably as a result of trade progress and a delay, likely September delay at the earliest, or for the Fed rate cuts. Gold, consequently, on that USD strength has dropped. It did test 3,300 last night. So further selling continues. Copper got absolutely mutilated overnight. Remember, we've talked about this frequently, that 50% import tariffs that have been imposed from the 1st of August to anything coming into the US is now a day away. And of course, we saw selling last night in preparation for that. After that big, it's a really interesting chart. Oil also had a good day at the office in monthly highs. Bitcoin still in a range, and earnings and trade news will continue to be important. We've also got US PCE data, weekly earnings, the BOJ and Euro jobs. Another very, very busy day. Lots for the markets to digest going forward. So just bear that in mind when you're making decisions today. Let's check out some charts accordingly. And we'll start with the NASDAQ. You can see there, new highs yet again. It was the only index last night that finished to the upside. Um, but of course, we've got further buying into that. You can see the futures contract is going well the back of on those numbers out of uh, Microsoft and Meta. Sorry, I'm just gonna let's see if we can get this across. We have actually got it across. So there you can see the futures. It's a day where OBS is actually playing ball. You can see the Nasdaq futures are rocking and rolling there. European futures slightly to the upside. No more buying into oil. Gold is soft and copper's just getting belted. Um, Extraordinary move in copper. Of the FX futures, you can see that the yen is strong, and it looks as though there's some buying coming into Bitcoin this morning as well. So that's good to get that. Let's just go into charts. Again, let's have a look at some of that detail. So outside of the Nasdaq, we'll just look at the 30-minute chart, and you can just see there's those two big candles subsequent to those earnings coming out, and we can see in Asia we're just ramped up. 23,665 is where we are now. Just record highs just continue to be smashed on positive tech earnings. Nvidia, I think, is a couple of weeks away yet. Um, if we look at the USD, this is the impact of positive trade talks. As I said, over the last sort of week or so, we've seen some significant buying coming back into the USD out of that downwards trend channel. I'm not sure I would trade the US dollar futures, but certainly some of the FX pairs are responding very positively to this. And of course, gold is under pressure. You can see that level there at 3287 that we put on before has been an important one. If we look at the low that we hit uh, on close on the 27th of June, then you're seeing there that essentially we honored that support buying today. Really nice V shape. There could be an opportunity here if the buying comes back in. I would say it's worthwhile being patient until we get a move back over 3,300. And at this stage, we'd just look as though we paused from that profit taking that we saw in early Asian trading from anybody who was short. But just watch this 3,300 level. No such dramas with copper. We'll put it on the daily chart for full impact. There is the candle from yesterday. If we look at the 30-minute chart, this all happened. It all gapped down from this point here in a matter of seconds. We saw a significant drop. This is around about 23% down from its highs on yesterday. You can see in Asia, in Asian trading, that we did hold on for we did hold on for a little while in Asia today, but over the last hour, we've just seen ourselves get belted, and yeah, it's quite a significant drop. That it I wouldn't be going anywhere near this long at this stage. Um, it's really quite dangerous to play this. It looks as though we could be trying to find a bottom here. Ultimately, there was a little profit taken at the end of the US session, but you can see continued in Asia, breached that level there. Next move will be key. Might get back into this range. Um, I'll be very careful on European Open and the Open of the LME this afternoon. 464 might be an interesting level if we see some buying come back into it, but that is just spectacular, whichever way you slice it. I did talk about oil, and you can see there the oil price has continued to move higher. And through the 200 MA a couple of days ago, And of course, we are continuing. Oh, no, continued yesterday. A little shy in Asia today, as I've already suggested from looking at the futures there. If we look at an hourly chart, you can see they're just pulling back, possibly coming back to test this level here at around about 70.67. But the fact that we are back over uh, over that level at $70 is really important. Um, and that could be there could be some continuing buying in there. If we watch 71, I would be watching 71.41, uh, which was the high from yesterday. If we breach that to the upside, that might be interesting. As for Bitcoin, as I said, it's trading within this range, just keeps on bouncing up 116,000. Doesn't look keen at this stage to go over 120. Could be institutional accumulation in this area here, with more and more institutions, it seems, being interested in adding Bitcoin as an investment. And yeah, let's. So of those, really, copper is the most interesting. Gold might offer an opportunity later, but the indices look great. So that's the major asset classes covered. I'll just get an update on the ASX. Just I will try. Let's see if we're gonna. No, we're not shifting today. There we go. Okay, you should see it now on the screen. It took about 4 attempts, but we got there in the end. But you can see there, the resource is not surprisingly getting belted because of that copper. But the overall index is actually doing quite well. Tech are flying up nearly 1.5%. So if we look at the sector split, not surprisingly, materials on the back of drops in copper and gold prices is down. Energy is looking ordinary as well on the slight drop in oil price this morning. But IT is flying, discretionary is flying. Um, that is where it's at. So overall, we've recovered some of the early deficit, only 0.2% down right now. That's sort of encouraging, I guess. Um, all right, just put the chart back on. There we go. All right, okay. Let's just check out some FX pairs. Weakness in the Aussie we reported yesterday, but we saw a little bit of recovery during the US session. So we're sat here on in the GB pound Aussie. Potential to bounce off here might be worth looking at. 105.51, possible move up 50 pips to there, um, to that 206 level. So that's an interesting potential move. As I said, a little bit of yen strength today. So let's just quickly check out the US yen. There's that US strength since Asian Open this morning, possibly anticipating something from the BOJ maybe. 140 looks like a really important level to the downside. So if we get a breach of that, um, certainly if you give it just a little space down to around about 140.76, maybe not a bad trade to put a pending order there somewhere down here if there is a significant move in the BOJ BOJ narrative around whatever rate decision they make. That could be worth a look. Outside of that, of course, the US dollar has been pretty strong. If we look against the euro, let's take it to the end. There we go. So there again is that USD strength as we see more selling in the euro as we've had for the last few days. Looking at the daily chart for context, this is actually the lowest close we had last night since back here on the 10th of June. So over a monthly low on this pair. Um, Certainly on just about any time frame, it looks quite bearish still. Although we have got a little end of session or early Asian session bounce. This again looks like profit taken to me. Wasn't a particularly high. high volume move to the upside. So with the Euro USD looking at 114, I think is the level of interest. I really quite like this chart, to be honest. And I might even make this my FX chart of the day. So Euro USD on a breach of 114, let's say 95, just to give you a little space away from that round number. Right, okay. Let's have a look at some ASX stocks. As I said, the resource sector is looking very, very weak. But we do have some interesting moves to talk to you about. 360 ASX is one that we've been keeping an eye on for a number of days. We'll have a look at that in a moment. Mesoblast is still below this um, 250 level, which I think is important. JB Hi-Fi have also been keeping an eye on there. You can see a potential move over 112.53 would not only represent a trend continuation, but also record highs for this stock. If we look at 360 ASX, this is one that I've liked for ages and just keeps on piling forward. This was a chart of the day over $34. As you can see there, we've got this gap up through that. And then since then, it's just edged higher and higher. As I said, I'm thinking this might be a $50 stock within the next quarter. Um, NXT were another one that we quite liked, and this is setting up really quite nicely. I'm just going to make sure we've got all of the data there. There we go. Yes, we have. So we've referenced this 1460 before. As you can see there, back end of June, we were here. Then we had this retracement, a little bit moved back up to it, and we've sort of bimbled in between the 200 MA and the 1460 resistance over the last trading week. So a breach of that could see us move higher, possibly up towards this sort of 1540 level, which would be round about this 5.5% to the upside. So I quite like that for this network cloud services company. And T&E we haven't looked at for a little while, but we see some buying coming into T&E of late over the last week. So it's sort of stuck in this range here between around about 39.10 and $43. We're about halfway through that. Even for you guys who like a little bit of a short scalp, this is a good example of where you might think about accumulating. If we breach 41, there's certainly a potential move up to 43 there on the cards, which is around about 5%, of course, just shy of 5%. But it might be that you could enter a small position here and then see if it has any momentum to take it through 43. That might be one to have a look at. Just in terms of what's getting belted today, just about every resource stock on the ASX is not looking pretty good. I'm just going to check in on two that we were actually looking at. LYC is pulled back. Obviously, if there's a deal with China, have got leverage over the US because of rare earths. If China make a deal to facilitate that rare earth imports into the US, Linus probably wouldn't do very well on that. So I'm wondering, after this surge up to what is a high that we haven't seen, if we stick it on the monthly chart since back here, all the way in February 2022, sort of got stuck under that level there. So A, it's a record high, so maybe there's a little bit of caution. B, there's the China stuff going on, which continues to rumble in the background amongst everything else. Um, so though that's not good today, I haven't written that off completely. Lithium stocks are really strong yesterday. PLS, we did have a look at. We can see lithium stocks again belted today, down 7% on PLS. Be interesting to see what Sunfire are doing in the copper space. Yeah, down 4.4%. So Sunfire have breached a key level there. So we are again off the lows of the session. Wouldn't be surprised to see this come down test at 200 MA, but then that might create an opportunity should they're selling in copper stop, of course. Not sure how much copper Sunfire actually export to the US. I think China is the major, obviously the major export target for for Australian resource stocks. So it might be just an inference that it's going to be impacted, but not as a direct US exporter. Interesting stuff. Anyway, so the ones I will keep an eye on. We didn't have a look at Megaport, did we? MP1. I did have a quick glance at it earlier. Up 4% today. Like this a lot. This is going to be my ASX chart of the day. That moved through 1450. Again, if we stick this on a weekly chart, it looks significant. That's the previous high that we hit back in early 2024. So it's coming up to that level. So a breach of 1530, I think, looks really positive. That and as well as 360 ASX, which you've already checked out. Into the US briefly, let's just have a look at some of the main players. Nvidia just keeps on doing what Nvidia does. I said, wouldn't be surprised to see this up to $200 in the next couple of months. At this rate, and might even hit it by the time earnings come around. We're at 183 now, somewhat amazingly. This is I mean, with that lift of the ban on exports or the curbing of exports to China, since then it's just continued to move ever higher from this 163 now up at 183. As I said, due to report in a couple of weeks, I think. Let me just check out on that for you. But I'm pretty sure it's sort of towards the back end of August. Yeah, 27th of August. So you've got about a month. As I said, it could hit $200 before that point. Interestingly. Okay, so let's just pop on Microsoft. Up 8% in after hours trading. Of course, you can trade extended hours CFDs with Go. Again, I've been talking about how wonderful this stock is. 500 was the level we talked about being the key level to maybe look about a long-term position. But that's gone boom, up in excess of 8% in after hours trading. Of course, the other big player last night, again, extended hours trading, is Meta. There's the breach of the key level that, again, we've referenced earlier. It's been bimbling around in a range between 700 and 740. Really strong move in extended hours trading, around about 9.5%. And of course, both of these are very much record highs. So the tech rampage continues. So that's all good news for tech. Any of these stocks are worth holding. My favorite two, as I've talked about frequently, are Nvidia and Microsoft. Let's just check out on AMD, which is another one we were tracking for a little while there. There we go, AMD. Yeah, AMD still looking great. Up to $200 as well, perhaps. So that's where we're at for today. Really, lots going on, but as I said, just be cautious. We've got a lot of big data coming out today, and especially be cautious around the yen crosses. Just check if we've got any update on that. Just see if we can get something better than Forex Factory about the timing of that. So they give an approximate between 11:45 and 1 p.m. in Tokyo, which doesn't help us very much. So what? So it is actually 11:55 in Tokyo at the moment. So any time now, I would expect that news to come across the wires. So just keep an eye on that. So US yen, sorry, US USD hasn't moved very much, but you do see it's tipping over. So any buying is starting to drift off a little bit. But keep watching that 114 level. That's it for today. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You guys take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon for some of you who are trading EX, of course. Outside of that, um, make sure that you pop in whenever we're next running. So uh, you have a good day in Tassie, Rob. You have a good day, uh, Roger and Wayne. And thank you very much, all of you. You guys take care. Thanks and see you soon. Have a great Thursday. Bye for now.